In this video, I will walk you through the workspace settings in Fabric and then specifically the Spark workspace settings. And I know workspace settings, they sound like just a small detail, but they can make all the difference when we look at performance or cost management. And don't forget, if you prefer reading about these things, Reitze, he has a blog where he posts articles referring to these videos that I post. I will put the link to the article in the description of this video. So to get started, I think it's quite important to find these Spark settings. At least when I read about the topic, I was wondering where exactly could I configure these kind of things. So I will show you how to find them. So when we go to our Fabric environment and we select workspaces at the left in this tab, you can see all the workspaces I have in my environment. And I want to select the DP-700 workspace. And there I have, when I click on the three dots, the workspace settings. And when I click on that, I get a lot of options. What you need to configure the Spark settings is go to Data Engineering, Data Science, and there you have Spark settings. And there you see you have 5 options: pool, environment, jobs, high concurrency, and automatic log. And I will walk you through all of these settings one by one, so you know what they all mean and you know what the options are. So let's start with the first option, and that's the option that also is visible when we click on Spark settings. It's pool. And what is a pool? A pool in Spark is essentially where all your Spark resources are managed. You can think of it as a reserve of computing power that you can tap into. And if we look at this, we see we have 2 options for a pool. We have a starter pool and a new pool, and they're different from each other. The starter pool, it's ready instantly, but it has really limited capacity. The custom pools allows for more flexibility and scalability, but it requires some warm-up time. If I click on new pool, let's try to create a new pool here. We need to give it a name, so I can call it shiny pool. I can choose the node family. It's memory optimized, so at this point I can't choose anything here. And then node size small, medium, or large. You can also choose if you want auto scaling to be enabled, and auto scaling actually lets Spark adjust resources dynamically for better performance. You can also set the number of executors here. These manage tasks, so having more executors can help process larger data volumes faster. So that's what you can manage here. You can give it a name, you can configure the node size, and you can also enable or disable auto scaling and executors, and then check how many you want. So that's what you can do with the pools. If I click on Create Now, it says this section contains unsafe changes. I haven't changed anything here. So if I say Save, I now see that my shiny pool is selected. And when I now click on this, I can choose the starter pool, or I can choose the one I just created. So that's the first setting where you can set up the pool. Let's go to Environment. Environments allow you to make sure that everyone in the workspace has access to the same libraries and configurations without needing to install everything themselves all the time. When you keep this switch at off, you can manually select the runtime version you want to use. So I can choose. Now, if I turn this on, I can create an environment myself. So I click on New Environment and I give it a name. A new environment is created. And now I see a new window opens. And what can I see here? I can see all the built-in libraries. I can see some public, custom. I also can configure some things of my pool, properties, and resources. And by creating an environment like this, if we go back to our workspace settings, and now if I select this, I can make sure that everyone in the workspace has access to the same libraries and configurations. So again, you have 2 options. You can turn it off and you just select one of these versions, or you turn it on and you can create a new environment exactly like you want it. So then we're looking at the jobs. So then the first part of the screen is quite straightforward. You can make sure the cores remain available for your Spark jobs. You can do that here. The thing is, when you reserve the course, you can't use them for other stuff in the meantime. I mean, makes sense. Then we have the second option, set Spark session timeout. And this is very interesting. The timeout setting for a session. If you're developing and you're done for the day and you leave and you set this on 20 minutes, it will free up the resource after 20 minutes. This also means that no one else can use those course until the session times out. For instance, if you're working with a small team on a F4 capacity, make the number as low as possible to give every developer a fair chance on using the available pools. And then we have high concurrency. Here we have two options, for notebooks and for pipeline running multiple notebooks. What does this mean? It means that multiple notebooks can share the same Spark session. It's a huge time saver. If you're running multiple tasks back to back, or if you have a pipeline that runs multiple notebooks, this will save you time. For example, say you have a series of notebooks populating different tables in your lakehouse. With high concurrency enabled, you don't have to wait for a new pool to start each time. And that's saving you like 10 seconds for the starter pools and like up to 2 minutes for the custom pools. So that's quite some time saving there. And then we have the last option, automatic log tracking. And this one's really essential if you're working with machine learning. It automatically records details about your experience, and so you don't have to manually track these things. This way you always have detailed logs available. Each of these options you could learn so much more about. There's really a lot of documentation from Microsoft about. I focused really briefly on what are the settings, where can you find them, and what are your options. So if you want to learn even more, make sure to also read that documentation. And if you want some more example, make sure you read Heitz's article that I put in the description.